Hello, everybody. What's up? Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Happy almost the end of February. It's funny because I was thinking, as February came in, I was thinking like, gosh, I think I really need to do my monthly energy transmission. I've been doing the monthly energy transmissions and then the updates sort of off and on and a little bit, some sort of version of that over the past couple of months. But man, this past month and a half, right? So we have been on the tail end of this eclipse eclipse corridor that started in March. And this tail end of it, just the end of it through this last one that we had just a couple days ago, that just like really pushed us to this new level, right? It brought us to this new crossroads. And I know that this corridor has not been easy. And I know especially for most of us, even just this year, the first month and a half of 2018 have been really, really challenging. So that's what I'm going to talk about in today's energy transmission video. I suppose this could be called the February energy transmission, although we've got a week and a half left before it's March. So I don't know what I'm going to end up calling this once it's reposted and put on YouTube. But for you guys right now that are watching live, hello. I'm so happy to see you. Give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me an emoji if you are so ready to move beyond the intensity that we have had over the past couple of months. Generally, I see that the year doesn't really get going until around the Lunar New Year. Like over the past couple of years, it's become clear to me from my experience that the Lunar New Year really does mark the beginning of moving into the new energy and really getting a sense of it, right? We feel the energies start to come in a little bit in the beginning of the year, but I feel like they don't fully manifest or pop up into our reality until about this time of year. So it is, for me, like a fucking gift from the universe to finally be on the point of the timeline that we are on. I'm still a little bit jet lagged. I just got back from London yesterday. For those of you who I met in London who came to my workshops, my private sessions, and my lecture at the College of Psychic Studies, thank you. It was so amazing to meet all of you. I have to say that the 2 workshops that I did over that weekend were phenomenal. And not just because of the information that came through, but phenomenal because of you. I was so blown away by the level of interest, by the level of willingness, and your power of your vulnerability and your willingness to open up your heart and ask the tough questions and sit with the information that came through and really receive. It was so fantastic. And to see 2 separate groups of people, because I had the 0-point field workshop on Saturday and then the emotional architecture workshop on Sunday, and to see the intensity and the focus and the clarity that you guys all brought to the events was amazing and phenomenal and wonderful. So thank you. Because yes, the information that comes through, is always going to be interesting and always, I think, going to be fascinating. But more than anything, you are the ones that really dictate what comes through. I show up in service of you. So when you show up fully open, fully ready, and fully prepared to receive, and you're there and you're willing and you're ready to dive in, that just makes it that much more exciting and wonderful. So I have my beverage. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to really open up this topic. I know for many of us the past month and a half, 2018 has so far not exactly been a walk in the park, and it has been intense because we have been at the tail end of this eclipse energy. We have gone through a lot of celestial alignments and a lot of, stuff up there in the stars going on, I will reiterate my belief that the alignments, the celestial alignments, full moon, new moon, this, transiting that and whatever's retrograde or moving forward or whatever's happening, the planets don't have an agenda and they're not really doing anything to us. I always feel like more than anything, what they do is they reflect our relationship with ourselves. They reflect where we are with ourselves. And in relation to whatever aspect of our chart or of our lives is being affected by the celestial alignments or the planetary alignments or the energetic alignments, no matter what it is, what it really shows us and gives us is an opportunity to come into deeper resonance and deeper integration with ourselves. And I know that for many of us, a big theme, and for myself as well, I was calling everything into question. I came back to San Francisco in November, and then I found that things just continued to fall apart, things continued to shift, and in my mind, all my mind wanted was the peace and the clarity and the security of knowing what's the plan, what am I supposed to do, where's my sign, where's my information, where's my clarity, where's my purpose, whatever it was. And what I really lost sight of was the reason, actually no, correct that, I didn't lose sight of anything. What I was given an opportunity to do was to realize how far away from my original intention, the mark of why I had begun this practice in the first place way back 5-6 years ago. And this, this corridor of events really brought me back into alignment with that. And what I really, really realized was that I had gotten so focused in looking for the answer. I had gotten so focused on building the business and creating the website and getting the social media traction and getting the likes and the shares and the subscriptions and all of that. And by the way, I found it to be really interesting that in the meantime, Facebook also changed their algorithm. So now my Facebook page is sort of lost in the shuffle. And my own personal relationship with Facebook has always been a little bit, sort of love-hate. I really see Facebook sort of as a necessary evil. And I've often said if it weren't for my Facebook page, my business page, Andrew Martin Energy, I might not even just have a Facebook profile at all. But the way Facebook has it set up, I have to have a personal profile in order to have a business page. And for those of you who follow me on Facebook, if you find that you're not getting my information or my posts, you can go to my Facebook page and click the follow button, and then you can choose to have my posts show up first in your Facebook feed. Because what I am seeing is unless I am paying for promotion on Facebook, or unless it's a Facebook Live, pretty much all of my posts are just really lost in the shuffle, and not me specifically, but everybody. Anyway, the point of that is to say that while I have been in the midst of like the past 3 or 4 months, really searching for the clarity and the insight and the depth and the connection of really where am I connected and why am I connected to it and what's the point of all of this, I had gotten so wrapped up in trying to make things be successful or trying to make things be, I don't know, I had lost sight of the original intention, which has always been and still is to illuminate things for people, to inspire people, to show people, to teach people, to help people, to uplift people, to reflect back the mirror of the truth of who we all are, which is masterful, powerful creators, infinite beings who came to play in the fields of limitation, and bringing through the tools and the insight and the information that will allow you to feel supported and will allow you to remember the truth and show you the door so that you can walk through it. And ultimately to get all of my clients, whether it's one-on-one work, group work, or classes or whatever, to get you to the point where you don't need me. Because you remember the truth, which is that I can't do anything for you that you can't do for yourself. All I can do is reflect back to you what is already there. I can't heal you. What I do is open the door for the part of you that is already healed to meet you so that you can begin to listen to that voice, so that you can remember what it feels like to be in your natural state as a sovereign, as a master creator, as a powerful being of light, and to show you the way to reconnect with that consciously. And yeah, I can be your coach and your helper and your partner and your leader and your guide or whatever you need me to be. But ultimately, it's all about you. Ultimately, a spiritual experience, a spiritual life, a spiritual path is only between you and you. So give me some love if you're feeling that. Give me a thumbs up. Give me some hearts. Give me an emoji if you are feeling like that is the truth for you. You are a powerful master creator. And here's the thing, that even if you don't remember it in the moment, even in the moment if you don't feel it, and I will raise my hand and say that over the past several months, there have been plenty of days and moments and times where I have felt like, man, I just don't feel it, right? I feel out of whack. I feel out of alignment. I don't feel fucking powerful right now. Right now, I feel confused, and I feel angry, and I feel frustrated. And one of the topics that I want to talk about and what I'm going to give you in this video is some practical stuff. So hang tight. I know that some of you, send me feedback and say, Andrew, you talk a lot and you sort of ramble, but that's how it works with me. This divine intuitive communication that comes through me that I am the vessel for, it leads us on a journey. So I promise you, if you stay with me and you listen to the story that I am going to tell, you will find some practical, applicable nuggets of truth that you can take with you today to begin to create powerful shifts in your life. So, I gotta get hydrated. One of the big themes that I found a lot of us coming up against, and really what was one of the big themes for me, was meeting the immovable. The energies that we have been going through, especially since the beginning of 2018, especially since January, have felt like I can't go through it, I can't go under it, I can't climb over it, I don't even see a door, I don't even see a lock for the key, I'm at my wit's end, and I feel like I am just banging my head against the brick wall and I don't know what to do about it. Raise your hand. Give me a thumbs up, a heart, or an emoji if you have felt this in the past couple of months, because I know for myself, it constantly felt like it was a left turn or a wrong turn or a cul-de-sac or a dead end. And one of the things that became very, very clear to me, and one of the messages that came through for me over the past couple of months, has been a block or a barrier or a hurdle is only a part of ourselves that we don't recognize. And for many of us, this was getting down to core wounds. This was getting down to the deepest, darkest, murkiest, heaviest, densest aspect of ourselves that was still present and was saying, I don't need you to talk to me. I don't need you to unravel me or understand to me. What I need for you to do is to sit with me and just be present. So rather than finding ourselves at odds with our experience, rather than making ourselves crazy and exhausting ourselves, trying to find the answer and trying to find the clarity, oftentimes the best thing we can do is to stop pushing, to sit down, and to remember that this part of ourselves that we feel is a block is simply a part of ourselves that we don't recognize. And to just sit with it, and to honor it, and to ask it, what do you know about me that I have forgotten? What is it that you need me to know? What about me are you a representative of? Right? Getting into that dark place and that deep place and just sitting with it and allowing it to introduce ourselves. Oftentimes, when we don't feel like there's an answer and we don't know what to say or to do, the very thing that reveals the answer to us is the admittal of the fact that we don't have the answer. Very often, the very thing that brings the clarity or the exhale to us is stopping, to stop pushing, to stop fighting, to stop holding our breath and just to unclench. Just unclench. Just let yourself be where you are. Just exhale and trust the process. Because what I am seeing now on the other side of this, right, we are done with the Eclipse corridor. The next real big event that we have coming up that I am able to really tune into is the equinox that is coming up. And that will be another, boost of energy that will take us to the next series of events. But I feel like we've got some time now until things really start to open up into a higher level. And one of the things that I'm realizing is on the other side of this intensity that we have had for the past 6 months is the truth that much of what we were carrying with us, right, the idea or the inspiration or the intention that we had, much of it is still here. But here's the thing, just because we meet the immovable, when we find a block, when we find something that we feel like we just we can't get around it, we can't get over it, we can't get through it, we have no answer, we have no idea, we have no insight, we have no key, and we feel like we are at the end of our rope, is stop. Sit down and get to know it. Ask it what it wants you to know, because just because you're meeting that block doesn't mean that you're wrong. Doesn't mean that your desire and your original intention or your original plan or vision was the wrong one or a bad one, or it was, a stupid idea or foolish or whatever. Oftentimes what it means is it's a matter of timing. right? Number one is sometimes it's just a matter of timing. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, you hear me say this all the time, is even Martha Stewart has to wait for the cake to bake. Sometimes we're just waiting for the universe to line up the cooperative components, the opportunities, the collaborators, waiting for the, that sort of crack to show so we have a spot to get through. Sometimes we're just waiting. Sometimes we're just waiting for the universe, our helpers, our guides, our angels, whatever you want to call it. We're waiting for them to do their part so that when it's time, we can grab the ball and we can be ready and we can proceed. So sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's clarification. Sometimes what we may not realize is the real truth behind what we are why we are choosing something or why we want it. Sometimes we have new information. Sometimes we don't see the full picture. I know for myself that 2017, actually 2016 and 2017 were both really, really challenging years for me. I was not comfortable at all. I would say, yes, I was having a lot of success with my business and I was doing a lot of exciting things, but in terms of my own personal experience, I didn't feel comfortable. And my discomfort was right up in my face pretty much every single day of the past 2 years. And all I wanted desperately was to get to the place where I didn't have to deal with that. I was always looking for where's that spot down the road. And I say this all the time, right? And we know this. This is a very simple truth. What we want is never outside of us, right? Everything that we are looking for out here really begins in here. This is the primary reality. And this is the secondary reality. But my ego, my mind, my small diminished self was so tired of being uncomfortable, was so tired of not having the answers, that I really found myself grasping and clutching and basically taking sort of half-baked ideas and trying to run with them. What I wasn't really clear on and what I see now in hindsight is that oftentimes the impetus or the idea or the epiphany or the inspiration comes in, but it's not really fully completely formed yet, or it's not quite ready for us to eat yet, right? We're still waiting for the cake to bake. So sitting with that idea, sitting with that intention, sitting with that inspiration and allowing yourself to be curious about it and tend to it and care for it and nurture it, but at the same time not force it. Because sometimes we're also waiting for new information. Sometimes we are waiting for a clarification of our intention. And what I realized over this weekend this past week in London at the College of Psychic Studies there, which by the way, I'll be going back in September, so keep your eyes open for some dates, was that the ideas and the intention I had at their core were really, really valuable. But because my mind, as the mind is always looking for the finish line. The mind is always looking for the silver bullet or the magic pill. The mind is always looking for the thing that allows it to go unconscious so that it doesn't really have to work and we can just sort of coast. And I realized that while of course, it's always important for me to be open to receive whatever is present. In terms of my practice and what I share with you guys and the classes that I'm in the midst of building and the workshops and the events that I'm going to be doing over the next several months and this year, is that I was trying to reinvent the wheel. What I didn't realize is what I already had in front of me was so valuable and so useful, and people are really ready for this information. And that's what this weekend had taught me. The two topics that I taught and that I shared in London were not new ideas for me. They actually were things that I had been talking about a couple of years ago. And yes, they still find their way into things that I share, but it wasn't brand new. And my mind had decided that if it wasn't brand new, if the mind didn't feel like it was the bright, shiny new thing, that it wasn't useful. And what I realize is what people are looking for are the basics, the fundamentals. Most of the people on the planet at this time really are just beginning to wake up to the truth of who they are, and they need really practical, useful, basic, fundamental information. So what I realized through this weekend was, oh my God, I already have every single thing that I need. And this is not a new truth either, right? I mean, I laugh at myself and I'm like, Andrew, nothing that you are sharing today is new information. And that's the beauty of it, is realizing that every single thing that I needed has been there the whole time, as it always is, right? We always have what we need. And if we don't have it in the moment, then it's because we don't need it. Or it's because we have convinced ourselves that what we have is not valuable, that what we have is not meaningful, that what we have is not necessary. And so what I have realized is that going through this process of really feeling frustrated and feeling cut off and feeling unsure has brought me back full circle to The key, the core, the root of why I started doing this in the first place. So one of the next things I'm going to share with you is the idea of struggle. Struggle and difficulty are not the same thing. If something is difficult or challenging in the sense that it calls you to a new place in yourself, that it calls you outside of the comfort zone, that doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be a struggle. Struggle means I am fighting against myself. Struggle means I have taken myself out of the flow, which the truth is you can never take yourself out of the flow. The best that we can ever do is really create an experience where we're moving against the flow and we're feeling frustrated and we're feeling constipated and we're feeling clenched up and stuck. It's only because we've just turned against ourselves and now we're in a cage match with ourselves. If I am in opposition to myself, then it feels like a struggle. It feels like pushing that boulder up a hill. It feels like heavy lifting. It feels like frustration. It feels like I'm lost. It feels like I don't know. It feels like I'm powerless. It feels like I'm a victim. But when I am aligned with myself, there is always ease. And again, it doesn't mean it won't be turbulent, right? We think of a river, right? Sometimes the river is slow and easy. Even when I'm in the flow and I'm just in my inner tube or in my canoe and I'm going with the flow and letting it carry me, the river of life, and I am the flow. So really the flow is me carrying myself. And when I am in the flow and I am carrying myself, yeah, sometimes it's going to be turbulent. Sometimes it's going to be choppy. Sometimes there are going to be those whitewater rapids. But it doesn't mean that there can't be ease in terms of how it goes, how it pops up, how the clarity is always there when we need it. And don't get it twisted, ease and easy are not the same thing, right? Give me a thumbs up or some hearts or an emoji if you are ready for more ease. My big theme for this year is how much ease can I experience? How much ease can I allow into my life? How can I allow things to pop up in my awareness? How can I allow things to be manifested? How can I allow things to reveal themselves to me? So ease and easy are not the same thing. Yeah, it might be work, and it might call me to some really deep, dark places within myself, but it doesn't mean that that has to be difficult. I can allow that to just show me, like, Andrew, here's the truth. Do you want to see it? Because here's what I know, and write this down. Put this on a Post-it and make it your mantra. The truth is always simple. The truth is always simple. The truth can always be spoken in 5 words or less. I am hungry. I am tired. I am unhappy. I am confused. I am overjoyed. I am excited. I am fulfilled. I am curious. I am unsure. I am not feeling you. I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to see what's next, right? That is truth. And it is 5 words or less. Mostly, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. Well, that was 8 words or 9 words, but you get my point. The truth only becomes complicated when we try to deny it, when we try to cover it up, when we try to avoid it, when we try to hide it, when we try to manipulate it, when we try to amend it or edit it or change it. Otherwise, the truth is always simple. The truth is always simple. So let the truth show itself to you. Let the truth reveal itself to you. And if you're not sure what to do with it in that moment, then just sit with it. If it is immovable, if it is showing up and saying, yep, I'm the truth and I'm in your face and I'm not going anywhere, don't fight it. And if you're not sure what to do, then that's okay. Admit it and say, okay, spirit, self, God, angels, guides, I don't really know what to do with this, but I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to let it be present, and I'm going to let it reveal itself to me, because when it's time for action, you will know. This is what I know for sure, is when it is time for action, you will feel it open up. You will feel yourself ready to leap. You will feel yourself like it's like, oh my God, right now, all I know is that it's time to act. You will know it like you know your name. So trust what you are feeling. Trust that when you're butting up against something and you can't really figure out how to get over it, around it, or through it, just let your hands up. Let it go and say, no struggle. I'm willing to move through this phase with ease and with grace and understanding. And until I feel the ease, until I feel it going my way, and until I allow myself to move back into the flow, I'm not going to take action, because struggle equals I am not in the flow. Struggle equals that I have peeled myself away from myself And now I am in opposition to myself. The other thing that I am very, very clear of is that oftentimes what these very, very difficult passages give us an opportunity to do is to really let that dream, let that desire, let that intention, that idea, that epiphany, let it just sit there and let it marinate, let it ripen, right? Let it get clearer, let it get riper, let it get bigger, let it get more powerful. Because if it is for you, then it is for you. If something is for you, nothing can stop it from getting to you. So when we just allow ourselves to open up and receive and trust that, all right, it's good. Yeah, it might be frustrating right now. Yeah, it might not be clear right now, but it's good. I can trust it. I can feel it. I can keep going. Or I can stay present and just allow myself to be shown. Sometimes the only action that we're being asked to take is just to be present. In fact, that's really the only action that we're ever, when you boil it all down, the only thing we ever have is now. And so really all it comes down to is I just have to be present now. But I just have to be present now and allow myself to receive what is here for me now. And sometimes what is here for me now is, hey, it's not time. Just chill out, wait for that cake to bake, go take a nap, do your self-care, work on cleaning up the messes that perhaps you haven't cleaned up, right? Get on your to-do list and do your housekeeping. But when it's time to make a choice and move forward, you will know. And in the meantime, you don't have to let the ideas and the intentions, the insecurities and the fears of others become yours. A lot of times what happens in these moments of not being clear is we start to second guess ourselves. We start to move out of trust with ourselves. We start to move out of faith with the process. And what I know to be clear and what I know to be true is that a spiritual relationship, a spiritual experience, a spiritual life is really just between you and you. So if there's a lack of trust, if there's a lack of faith, if there's a lack of belief in the process, the angels, the guides, the universe, whatever, that's really just a lack of faith or trust or belief in yourself. Just trust it. Just trust it. So when you're not sure, or on the other side of where we are now, right, we've just entered into, energetically, things have just opened up. That pressure cooker of the eclipse corridor has opened up and we've been released. And now we're sort of standing on the other side of it going, can I trust this? I don't really know. I have PTSD. I don't really know. My skin is still really raw. My wounds are still pretty fresh. It's okay. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be patient with yourself. And here's an easy exercise that you can do is when you're not sure or you're feeling a little unsure or a little like, oh God, I don't know, I'm feeling a little gun shy or a little PTSD. Ask yourself this question, because also when we're in the process of things opening up like we are right now, it can be really overwhelming because all of a sudden it's this bombardment of information and this clarity just starts popping up all over the place. And we don't really know perhaps which thing to do first or which direction to head in first or what's true, what's real, what's not. Do yourself a favor and try this exercise. Every day, let's say try it for a week. Every day for the next 7 days, you can start tomorrow. Every day for the next 7 days, every morning, sit down with your journal. You can do it on your phone, but I like the act of actually physically writing, as I find that it's more powerful. Sit down and just write a list. What are the 10 most valuable things today? What are the 10 most valuable things today? And what this does is it helps keep the mind in check, because the mind is always going to have its own agenda. The mind always just wants to move on to the next thing. The mind, especially when it's uncomfortable, the mind just wants to get to where it's comfortable, right? The mind just wants to get to where it doesn't have to work so hard. The mind just wants to get back to the comfort zone where I can just take my bra off, sit down with my chips and my Netflix and my blanket and just sort of hide from the world. There's nothing wrong with that. But trusting and understanding that the mind is not always going to lead us to the new growth. In fact, it's almost never going to lead us to the new growth. So what are the most 10 valuable things for me to focus on or know or do today? That brings me back to the present moment. That relieves me from having to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow or the next week or the next month or even this afternoon. And just ask, what are the 10 most valuable things for me to focus on today? So while these things are still percolating or clarifying, or the cake is still baking, or the fruit is still ripening, I mean, how many analogies or metaphors do I have to give you? Just ask yourself, okay, right now, what are the 10 most valuable things that I need to focus on today? then that lets what's still working still work. That lets what's still ripening still ripen. And it takes you out of having to control or understand or make it be anything other than what it is. And not letting the opinions, the ideas, and the intentions or insecurities of others become yours, right? Because a lot of times what we get really good at is in those moments when we're not clear, we tend to look out here for all of the answers, right? Oh, let me get a reading. Let me ask a friend. Let me pull some cards for myself. Let me flip a coin. Let me, do my magic 8-ball, whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with seeking insight or feedback from the exterior secondary reality, because this is also a reflection of what's going on. But it's really important that you use your discernment and that you be really, really clear on how you feel about what comes back to you, because sometimes another person may be very well-meaning, but they're going to project their insecurities or their beliefs on you, and they may not have an intention to sideline you or knock you off your path. But oftentimes, this is what only you know what truth feels like. That's one of my favorite sayings. So even if I am seeking the consult or the insight of others, when it all boils down, the thing that I'm left with is only I know what truth feels like. So I have to be the one to sit with that and to trust it. And the last question that I will give you, the last thing that I'm going to give you to help you sort of gauge your way along this path, and as we're moving into this, because here's what happens, right? The energies come in, it pushes us to a new level, it pushes us to a new level, it pushes us to a new level. And so we're always reaching a higher expression of our truth, and we're always letting those layers peel back, and we're always letting the impurities or the distortions or the distractions burn off. And so it always brings us to a new level of clarity, to a higher level of awareness. And oftentimes it does feel like we're born again and born again and born again. And when I'm just crossing the threshold of this rebirth, which we are in this phase now, we are crossing that threshold again. It's really, again, our skin feels raw. We're not really sure. Can I trust it? Is it okay? I don't even know. Where's my clarity? So ask yourself this question. When you're about to make a choice or you're about to make a decision or you're not sure, if I completely trusted myself, the process, and the universe right now, would this choice support that trust? I'll say it again for you. If I completely trusted myself, the process, and the universe right now, would this choice support that trust? Because here's the reality. There are going to be a lot of times where we're not entirely sure, is this something of the ego or is this something of the heart? And as I've been sharing with you in this video, I have found myself being really propelled by the needs of the ego. The ego needs to feel important. The ego needs to feel loved. The ego needs to feel valued. The ego needs to feel embraced and welcomed. And those are all beautiful things, but those are things that I have to do for myself first. When I find myself struggling and striving to look for all of that out here, that is always a sign that I have removed myself from my flow, that I am now in opposition to myself. And sometimes it takes a minute to realize that. I didn't realize that the mission of the ego had become my mission and that I was just confused and really unsure. So now that I see on the other side of that, I was like, oh, it was just the fear of my ego. My ego thought that I needed the plan and the answer to be super comfortable and to go back to sleep. I didn't really want to go back to sleep, but I really did want the plan and the ease and the comfort. What I realize and what I've come back to is that the ease and the comfort is always only ever right here. It's not next week. It's not 2 months ago. It's only ever right here. So when I ask that question, when I'm unsure of a choice, then I can stop and ask myself, okay, if I'm moving from a place of trust, if I fully believe in myself, my guides, the angels, the universe, whatever I want to call it, my process, and I'm coming from a place of really deep, true trust, does this choice reflect that place of trust? And if it doesn't, then it's okay. I don't have to beat myself up, but I can use that as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm just going to hold off on making this decision. I'm going to put this on the shelf or hang it on the wall and just kind of sit with it for a minute and see. I'm going to see if this clarifies itself. I'm going to see if this shows more of itself to me. I'm going to see if this has a deeper level of understanding. I'm going to see if perhaps this is only 90% baked and I still need to wait for a little bit more information to come in before I proceed to make a decision. because this is what I know above all else, and this is what this past weekend really showed to me. You know, these 2 workshops were they were full day workshops. It was 10 to 5. It was 8 hours each day. And I was really questioning, like, do I have enough content on each day to fill a full day? I don't know. And I was so nervous and so anxious. And I was driving myself crazy trying to come up with meditations and, you know, and tools and, you know, techniques and sort of things to give them. I wanted to make sure that it was valuable. And of course, that's a beautiful intention to want, right? I want to make sure that people come who are spending money and time with me, that they feel like they're getting value out of it. And that is a good thing. But what I wasn't remembering at the same time was that all I have to do is show up. All I have to do is show up with a pure intention to be of service. All I have to do is allow myself to receive what is here. Our willingness is the most powerful tool that we have. So when we say, okay, I am willing to be shown another way if there's another way. I am willing to be shown a deeper connection with myself. I am willing to be shown which part of this self that feels like a block, which part of me that I don't recognize this is. I am willing to be shown a clarified, purified version of my intention or my idea. And just because things seem twisted and tangled and difficult doesn't mean that I am wrong. It just means maybe I'm trying to take a leap before it's time to take one. So I just let go and I kick back and I let the flow carry me and I reorient myself to here, which is the primary reality, and let the secondary reality rearrange itself while I'm waiting for that door to open. I also want to make sure that you guys know about the Transformation Lab that's coming up in San Francisco, March 3rd and 4th. It's going to be incredible. It's a live 2-day workshop with myself and my friend and collaborator Ryan Allen from Lifted. And it's going to be incredible. It's 2 days of guided meditation, one-on-one coaching, intentional movement, using movement to unlock the body. We're also going to be doing the emotional architecture on Sunday, the second day. It is 2 full days, and they are part of the same workshop. So check it out. You'll find it on my Facebook page, Andrew Martin Energy, and you'll see it in my events. If you're on Instagram, then you can find in my link on my bio, click that, and it will take you so you can click on the Transformation Lab and sign up. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description. Transformation Lab is going to be amazing. As always, you can go to my website, andrewmartin.energy, book sessions with me, read all my insight, my information, whatever it is. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. But I am doing the intuitive sessions and the energy work sessions. And also, once again, if you're on Facebook and you follow me there, Andrew Martin Energy, click the follow thing and select, see notifications first, because otherwise you may not see it. Because again, Facebook's new algorithms has rendered something that was already, just a pain in the ass, even more of a pain in the ass. I'm not sure what they were thinking with those algorithms, because personally, I log into Facebook and I'm like, why am I here? I'm only seeing like the same 5 posts from the same 5 people over and over and over. Anyway, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I love you, love you, love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah! Bye.